let us look at color vision. What do we mean by color vision? The things that you see have color, right? You can have an object, for example, this black color, right? And it has light, and that is red light. So how are you able to know that this is red and this is black? Then other objects are yellow, other objects are green. Okay. How are you able to know that? That ability is because of special cells that are within the retina. What we have looked at, the ones we call the photoreceptor cells, where we looked at the cones and the rods, but the cones are the ones responsible for color vision. So that means if we ask you a question to tell us how the cones make us differentiate between the different colors, you should be able to explain, and that is what we are going to look at. So the photoreceptor cells called cones are the ones responsible for color perception. But what basically happens is that, of course, they have to be excited. That means for them to be able to fire the nerve impulses, they have to be excited, and that excitement happens when light is directed towards the eyes, and then the cones have the ability to absorb all the wavelengths of the visible spectrum, and that is what gives us the ability to be able to distinguish between the six major broad colors. That is red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet. Okay, so that is the starting point, that our eyes can be able to absorb all the wavelengths in the visible spectrum, and that is why we can be able to distinguish between the six colors that I just mentioned. So how does that really happen? How is it that we can be able to distinguish between these different colors that I have just talked about? Remember, the cells that are responsible for color vision are called the cones, and we have three types of cones. That is the red sensitive cones, or basically the red cones, the green sensitive cones, or the green cones, and then the blue cones. Okay, so color vision don't talk about rods, only talk about the cones, and therefore for the cones we have the three types of cones. So the cones have a photosensitive pigment called iodopsin. So this iodopsin is the one that absorbs the light that we have talked about. Generally, what happens is that the cones that of the three types that we have just talked about, when stimulated, you have them absorbing particular or specific wavelengths. So they not all the three cones absorb the same wavelength of the visible spectrum. So that means that not all of them actually get excited at the same, or stimulated at the same level. Okay, so the cones are stimulated when iodopsin, which is the photopigment, found in the eyes or in the cones. When that stimulation reaches the threshold or exceeds the threshold, then you have the cones being stimulated. So now, after stimulating these cones, remember there are 3 types. After stimulating them, so how come that we can now know that this object is blue, this object is yellow, the other object is black? The explanation for that comes from the trichromatic theory, which states that color vision is as a result of differential stimulation of red, green, and blue cones in the retina. Differential stimulation, that's the most important aspect. Differential stimulation. That means that certain light will stimulate the red cones more than the others. You have certain wavelength that will stimulate the red or the green cones more than the other. So it can either be one particular type of cone, that is type of cones that are actually being stimulated, or you can have a combination of any of the two types of cones out of the 3 being stimulated, or you can have actually all of them also being stimulated at equal intensity. So because of that stimulation that varies, differential, it's not the same. That means that that's when we can be able to perceive these different colors depending on which cones have been stimulated. Okay, so there's this image here. With this image, the science is that when light waves from a source hit a green object, the green color is what is reflected and it's what will come into our eyes. Okay, so when these green rays, the ones reflected from the object, enter into our eyes, that means you'll have the green cones being the one that are being stimulated, and then that information is sent to the brain, and then we are able to perceive the object as being green. Okay, so but if you have another color, an object of another color, that means it's also other types of cones will be the ones that will be stimulated. So that is basically the trichromatic theory. So tri means 3, and then chromatic is color. So that is about that. So let us see if the red cones are stimulated, the object, what we shall perceive from the brain be that object is actually red. If it is green cones that are being stimulated, the object is green. That's what we shall perceive. And then if it is blue cones that are being stimulated, then you'll have the perception of blue. If you have 2 types of cones being stimulated at the same time, then you have other colors coming in. So when you have the red cones being stimulated together with the green cones, then you will have yellow or orange. That's the perception you will have. That's the color of the object that your brain will tell you. And then you have green plus blue cones being stimulated at the same time. You will have cyan, you have red and blue, you have magenta or violet, and then red. If all of them are stimulated at the same time, this is if you have the red cones, the green cones, plus the blue cones. That means that what you get, what you have in your mind will be that the object is actually white. Okay. Okay, so that is how we get to know the color of the object that we are actually seeing. And then we have other people who have the inability. They don't have the ability to distinguish between certain colors. That means that they lack the ability to know that this object is actually either green or blue or red, something like that. So that means that certain types of cones are not actually working very well. So they are malfunctioning. They're not working well. That's why they have that problem. So this problem is basically genetically inherited. The meaning of this is that we get the people who have it get it from their parents. Okay, so it is a genetic disorder. So when you have a person who has, most people, by the way, most people who have this condition, have red-green color blindness. That means that the person is having issues with the red and green cones. So that means that they get difficulties distinguishing between red and green. And then we have blue-yellow color blindness or total color blindness. This happens when there is a defect in the at least two types of cones or other types of cones, or basically